Crypto media friends, welcome. This is an overtime on top of the overtime show because I really want to work hard to bring you guys this stuff live and sort of, in the moment, in median res, as we say in the film world, in projects that are working on the bleeding edge and delivering on promises of, the metaverse and Web3. And that's why, I share these projects. And that's why I'm here. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I need to get to 1,000 followers, or I think I'm going to be flayed and dropped by my potential partners in this pursuit of the metaverse and the show. Hoping to announce it quite soon, but it's a really exciting moment for the show and a crucial one. So if you could, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend, because this is the time when it matters. The idea of whether I pursue this and deliver more content in Web3, or I just go F off and make a movie. To be honest, it's just like, I don't need to make these. I do these for fun, but it does have to support itself. And I think for the show to take its next step, we have an amazing group of partners, and we really want to try and bring you guys the idea of vision behind Web3 and creators coming together and working and getting paid potentially is something that I'm very passionate about, and I love showing sort of the tools that we have. And today I'm sharing Fyat Lux, which is one of the projects that gave me this vision and this space. And I really don't know how this show is going to go, to be honest. I did the interview and I'm going to show the interview, but this project is so close to my heart in a sense, because it breaks my heart a lot in the way that the space has been treating it, in the way that the things have evolved in terms of I think when you follow floor price, you start getting like, oh gosh, what is this? Is this any good? But I think that it has an effect on the entire community when that happens. But the beautiful thing that I've found with this community in Fyat Lux is that it sort of distilled the flippers, and they went away and they were like, oh yeah, there's not a lot to flip here in terms of like price action. But I think what you find again is that vision of Web3, because this project is so technologically advanced that Artifact is delivering on things about a month ago maybe that they had delivered back in January, so 6 months before. And this is on day one they delivered these 3D tools and gave me an idea and understanding of the potential of having an asset that you could take into the metaverse without it being voxelized, without you could just, the thing that you saw is what you get. And they worked really hard with Robot Pencil, an amazing artist, to refine this so that what you see in the 2D and in the 3D, which is fantastic. Again, this is the first time I'd seen it. It's the second time I'd seen it actually, but the first time I could see it where I could play with it and really look at a character on OpenSea, just in the viewer, and I demonstrate a bit of that in the interview. But it's just a phenomenally ahead of its time project, because I think now we're looking at the potential of projects like this that have delivered 3D assets. You can take these into metaverse environments, and that is, we talk a lot here about the other side. Well, here's the alpha. The other side is not going to be just apes. The other side is going to incorporate projects like Fyat Lux. Fyat Lux actually is in one of the prime positions to join other side, because they have the assets. They're ready to go. They're ready to join into the game. And so again, without it being voxelized, and so I think as more attention, I think, there sort of is a debate as to, the quality of the environments. Like, oh, somebody can just go and make a Unity and you can play a shooter, a first-person shooter game or something, but you can do it with your character. And I think that has so much, undiscovered things. And we talk, we're going to get really into Webaverse here on the show. We went through the Mint together, and I'm going to bring people from that project on the show. They're very excited to join us on the show to talk about this vision of this unregulated, completely decentralized experience in the metaverse. And I'm going to jump right into the Fiat Lux chat I had with the guys because it's a long one, but I think it's going to be well worth your time because that's what I saw in this project was, a glimpse of it. And you look at their background, coming from MIT. These are people who are very, very smart, and technologically, they have a very, very strong vision for what Web3 and the metaverse can evolve into. And I had a chance to meet them very early on as well in NFTLA, and it was immediately a team I really wanted to connect with because I saw the vision here, and I hope that this chat will share that vision that I had with you, because I think it's coming now. It's like the everything that I'd wanted for these types of assets are now in this space. So take a look. We're gonna have to reboot. This is the beauty of doing this not live, guys. Welcome to the Overtime Show.
I haven't had a chance to say anything stupid.
Welcome, crypto media friends, to the Overtime Show. We're here today with Fiat Lux, a project that I've been following for a long, long time, since the beginning of this year, end of last year. A really fantastic group that I'd love to talk about, the project, and I think also the group that has worked together for a while, and the differentiation that makes, this another group that's, maybe met just on Twitter Spaces or Clubhouse or something. But I want to introduce this really smart group, beginning with Umar, Christian, and Jan Eric. Umar, could you kick us off, please?
Sure. Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Umar Arshad. Quick background on me. I've been kind of most relevant to this project in Web3. I've been in the augmented reality space for a long time. I was a founder of a company, and then was an executive at one of the largest augmented reality SDKs. Before that, I've had many careers, but the one thing that I've always wanted to do was be a creator. Big fan of anime, sci-fi, comic books, movies, and it's always something that I was doing. I was drawing since before I was programming, and I saw Web3 and emerge, and I saw the opportunity to tell a story that we've been working on and I've been developing, and hence the project was formed with some of my amazing co-founders here. So I'll pass it on to Christian. You can.
I just want to say that your story is just so, I don't want to say commonplace, but it is, I feel like, the impetus for why so many great creatives are coming to Web3 that, maybe we're working in tech. There's so many creative people who, their day job is not necessarily storytelling. And I think that, exactly what you said is the journey of so many people here. So thank you. Christian.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? I'm Christian. I'm originally from Puerto Rico. I am in Puerto Rico right now, not as sunny. But my background is in engineering and far future research. I was at the MIT Media Lab, where I did research in AR and VR, and then worked at different far future research groups at Wayfair, PTC, Google, just looking at the future of emerging technologies. So my expertise is in prototyping, and I think at some point during the pandemic, I was like, it's time to go back to build a future of our own. And so ended up moving into the mountains of Puerto Rico, lowest possible burn rate, became a hermit, and started working with Umar and Jan, who had met along the way in that journey before the hermit phase of my life. And
because that's where the future is, right? The future is in being a hermit.
Yeah, and I think I can also echo, like, I've always been, strong engineering background, but I've always been a writer. I write fiction, and so this was like an opportunity for me to also do some of that as well.
Awesome. Jan Eric, close us out.
All right, so hey everyone. My name is Jan Steele. I'm also one of the sort of technical people, and I'm a co-founder of Fiat Lux. And my background is mostly in the video game industry. I left being a programmer in the banking industry, early 2000s. It was awful. and really wanted to get into video games. Did that for about 20 years. Really found a space where I started enjoying making games that had like a physical component to it. So I worked on some projects like Skylanders that had little collectible toys that used sort of induction fields, and that kind of had a cool play pattern to it. And then worked on Guitar Hero for a number of years, and I really sort of liked having that sort of interaction between physical and digital. And always thought that was fun, and hopefully led to like new play patterns and new experiences. And then really got interested in AR and self-driving cars in the sort of early, like 2014 or so. I was seeing that tech was just amazing. What was coming together from like computer vision and SLAM and sort of like heads-up displays and just all this analysis and machine learning and it was just incredible to see the progress that was happening. But I'm a video game maker, so I really was thinking about what would happen if we put this tech in a toy. And so I started making a prototype with some other colleagues that ended up being Mario Kart Live that we made with Nintendo, which is really just trying to play Mario Kart in your living room, where we sort of in AR place the AIs and the track and everything into your living room. And then our goal really was, can we make an AR experience that's not like a 5-second gimmick? And can we do something that people will spend time in and isn't exhausting, but just sort of fun and interesting? But making stuff in AR is deeply, deeply difficult. And so it was a great experience. But after that, I kind of felt like I wanted to move away from just sort of pure games and called up Omar and Christian and sort of said,
And you
like,
wanted to start a band because you play saxophone on the side.
Let's get the band back
let's
together
get the band
again,
together.
and Christian's very talented. I'm not a good enough musician to start a band. So it was really just like, we spent a lot of time just talking about like, what do we want to do? Like, what interests us? What do we think would be cool? And again, it came back to sort of storytelling, working with creative people. How can I work with artists? How can I work with musicians? How can I just surround myself with talented people that are interested and passionate about stuff?
Well, Jan-Erik, it seems like because of your position, you haven't mentioned, this alternate sort of side. Did you feel, or do you feel like in your pursuit of making video games that the artistic side is equally met as the tech side?
Oh, definitely. I think for me, just like being a pure programmer, there's many ways in which you can make a living just being a programmer, making websites, making databases, like whatever. You can make good money doing that. But for me, whenever I shifted my career to getting to work with artists and musicians, like that's when I was happy. Like that's when you get this sort of interdisciplinary interaction that like there's just nothing like that kind of excitement when the engineer comes in and is like, hey, I'll put the physics engine in, I'll put this rope thing, and then the artist is like, oh my God, let me put bloom, and like it just sort of feeds off each other in a way that I've never seen in any other field until now, when we sort of get into this Web3 field, which is different again than games, but it does have, kind of like you mentioned, there's a lot of people flocking to it from a lot of different fields, right? And so you see this sort of interesting interdisciplinary dynamic here as well that I think drew me towards this space.
Well, let me walk you through my experience with Fyat Lux, just to kind of track, the awe, if you will, of me going through this space. And so I'm going to start to just share a screen, a bit old school here, but I think it just sort of illustrates. This is what is it, 6159. So 6159 came out of, I missed the mint and I had to buy on secondary because you guys sold out pretty quick, I feel. And so I ran into secondary, and then I'm hit with, in OpenSea, a viewer like this. Literally, I'm telling you, I got two, but I just stood on this one for like 20 minutes and I'm just like, what is this? Like, I'm seeing like these amazing traits, that you guys had. And I'm like, and I'm seeing them in a different way that I wasn't expecting. And just to see it like this, walk me through the process of just getting it to display like this and putting that on OpenSea, it was such a unique experience. I'd had 3D articles like a metaverse travel agency or, you know, wearables that I could see in 3D, but nothing like this, the full-on character in this. Walk me through that process of saying, hey, you know what, we should do this. And how hard was it?
It was actually pretty complex because it was part-wise, you know, through the creation of the art with our art director for the Dawn collection, AJ, aka Robot Pencil. We started doing concepts in 2D, right? And then we always knew we wanted this to be like our expertise, augmented reality, bringing art into the world. So we started looking at 3D. And then when we were getting concepts back from the 2D to 3D, we're just like, something's missing, something's getting lost in the translation. And so we were like, at some point we were talking to AJ, was like, is there a way for it to look like 2D and then, you know, appear 2D, even though it is 3D? And what you're seeing here, that sort of led us to like, oh, it'd be really cool if when, you know, you're seeing it in OpenSea, it looks like a card, it looks like a picture, like a profile picture, like any other project. But suddenly when you start dragging on the screen, it just starts moving and it's actually a 3D viewer. And I think that's how we ended up like doing that for OpenSea, right? Because there was a lot of debate of whether it would be a picture, whether it would be the 3D model, whether it would be like some sort of viewer experience.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think we, kind of like Christian mentioned, like for us, AR is important to us. Like we all come from an AR background. We all are passionate about AR, and you can't really play something in your real world if it's not a 3D asset. So like it wasn't like, let's do a picture and then we'll work our way up to 3D. It was just like, it's got to be 3D. For us, like I don't even remember there being any debate. It was just like, it's got to be 3D. There was a ton of debate after that point as to how to get there, and so much work as to not only make sure no matter where you put that camera that it looks like a 2D shot of this character and it has a nice thick outline and it's sort of well set up, but then also in any viewer without complex rendering and shaders, it needs to look consistent, because we knew that people would want to bring these assets into different spaces, and just in these viewers and OpenSea, in our own app, we wanted to make sure there was a consistency, and there's a ton of work that goes into that, both from a technical side and from an art standpoint, to get that right. So, you know, Christian and AJ, I mean, everyone did, but they really focused on that pipeline and just did an amazing job with that.
This was like, again, I'm so like, I was just kind of spinning this dude around and I'm like, wow, this is, I hadn't even looked at my second one. And so I'm just like so in love with, you know, what's going on. And then, you know, going to, you know, in the Discord, everyone's like freaking out, like so super excited. And then it was just like immediately, I believe, or if not just after a minute, like the 3D models were ready to go. Like the 3D model and the T-posed 3D model. Why the two different models, the 3D model and the T-posed?
I mean, at that point, it was about giving people the flexibility to take this anywhere they wanted, right? And if we wanted them to be able to use whatever rig system they wanted to. So that's why you have the T-pose, just to make it easy for any creator to take the model and, you know, rig it in a different way than we might rig it, for example. Plus, we knew that, you know, a T-pose model, you can actually import something like Mixamo and get like a standard rig out, and you can quickly animate it. And then the 3D model, the posed model, was just more like our artistic, you know, visualization of that character.
And I see a sense of that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to add, I mean, so that functionality, I mean, a lot of these features that you're pointing out and some of the decisions that we made in the technical delivery of the NFT and the underlying assets is all predicated around kind of the purpose of this project, right? So from the beginning, our point of view was, you know, we're experts in AR. We want to tell a story. We want to tell a story that's and create a franchise that's native to the metaverse. And what does that mean? What does it mean for something, a story, a world, a fictional universe to be native to the metaverse, and a story that can be told across the metaverse? And so with that central premise, you know, we were like, well, what we wanted, and something that's decentralized and leverages Web3. And so from there, it was, okay, well, it's got a, what if we said, what if we created a story and then we released a bunch of characters that are like the official characters in this world. So as an example, what if, when somebody launched, when George Lucas launched Star Wars, what if he sold, like, you could own an official Jedi, right? And there's many other characters in the world. The world is huge and rich, but
I definitely would have gone Wookiee myself.
You could have bought a Wookiee, right? Exactly. I mean, they could have released a Wookiee collection. And so the goal here was, if you tell a story and it's a story that we want to tell, then hopefully it inspires people. And then when we create these assets and we sell them and people can own these official assets, that they can use those in many ways to either create their own stories in this world or to take this world with them wherever they go. So if we step back and we say, that's our goal, that's the vision that we're trying to accomplish, then the central piece for us was we need to have characters, the characters and the digital collectibles that we sell have to be able to be used across different platforms. And what does that mean? It doesn't just mean metaverse, it means everything. So it's a character who you can create a profile picture from. It's a character that, so if you want to kind of be that character or represent it on your 2D social world, it's a character that you can create and take with you across these 3D metaverses. It's a character that can exist in AR, in VR, and any spectrum in between. It's a character that can look great in 2D and can look amazing in 3D, and it's portable across the world. So, designing with all those constraints, and then making it something that feels magical, feels quality, and doesn't feel like we just slapped, we just hired some artist from Fiverr and put something together just to make money. That's the intent behind all of this. And I think, we're really proud because I think we accomplished all that. And of course we'll talk a little bit more about how the project's been progressing, but the design and intent of the characters was all of that thought and effort went into putting all the characters together, and why they look that way, why we released T-poses and posed models, why from on mint day, on reveal day, you could go to our website, connect your wallet, and you'd see all of those. So from day one, you had your 2D card image, your profile picture, you had your 3D pose model and your T-pose model all accessible to you. And the goal was that, right? That was the goal.
And it was very obvious. I think that's where the thing was, is why I was taking my time looking at these things and these elements, because I could see the craftsmanship and the quality and the thought process. I could see the thought as I'm looking at this model. I'm like, wow, I could take this anywhere. I could put this under different lighting conditions and this is going to look consistent. I could see, again, having the different poses. I'm like, okay, great. I can take that into Mixamo. I could see the thought going through some of these decisions. And I think that for me, it was just like, this is very unique. The construction, the craftsmanship, as well as the view of the world. And then I get one of these in the mail. So we've been calling them Fidgetals. I guess it's sort of a moniker. Who came up with Fidgetal? I feel like Jan Eric came up with Fidgetal.
I can't take credit for that.
That was Christian. Christian was like, Christian called me one day and he's like, hey, what about Fidgetal? And I was like, I don't know. That sounds weird. And then
I think it's like, it sounds horrible. And then we just like, let's just use it. Let's just use it while we're talking internally, right? And then it was like, it just stuck.
And that's how you get that 70s show. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that's what we've been calling it internally this whole time. It works. So you take your phone and then you put near the near field reader here, and then the app pops up, and then I want to view. I got to scan it again just to let it know sort of which one I have. 6159. And it's going to be a bit slow given network speeds, but I want to view it in AR first. And that was the first look that I saw in terms of your guys's sneak peeks, was this concept, right, of getting totally rugged. There we go. Of having this physical thing, but it already is, reacting in sort of this AR element. And so it was just like, that was, again, it was one of those things when, I first saw this project, you guys were showing this aspect off, and I'm like, what is it? I don't know, but
a little bit of glare. So I think for
people, it's not showing as well as it should. And, I recommend you get one.
Yeah.
But and check one out yourself. But that's the thing is, so you have this element where, but for me again, it opened up this concept of like, okay, great, for me as a creator, having a physical thing, especially in this next bit here, when you embrace the duality, it's going to be a little hard to show here, but the fact that I can like jump in and sort of LARP as the character was fascinating to me, because it solves a massive problem for influencers who don't want to dox, who want to, I've met many who they have their snap filter, but they have to constantly reload it. And so I was just like, oh my God, it'd be so great just to like sort of just, have the physical thing and just like add it on there and throw it on there. So you don't have to mess around with reloading, via Snap. And so, and it opens up for me, my thesis in this space is that, we're kind of sick in social media of playing this successful version of ourselves. Like, I'm just like, it's like, we've been doing this for like, a decade of just like, oh God, no, really, I'm good at what I do. And look at my children, they're beautiful. And I think we want to try something else and something different. And LARPing for me is very freeing and liberating creatively. And so, but this seemed like a really fantastic tool for that. What was your guys' approach in terms of, again, providing these types of tools?
The story of Phygital is actually quite interesting, right? Because I think the idea of like bringing something tangible, like it made perfect sense with our background for AR. Like we were like, AR, you bring, it's the full circle, right? You have a physical art piece of art, you use AR to bring the digital analog into the world. And the story is quite funny, where it's like I started like playing with concepts, and just I did a Bad Bunny Phygital, where like it's just a Bad Bunny, a card of Bad Bunny, and when you place the phone, it like played some video, posted it, and then like a day later, like Bad Bunny had like shared it on his Instagram feed, and I started getting a lot of calls. It was kind of crazy. It was just like there's something about this, like having something tangible and connecting it to something in the blockchain, connecting it to that digital analog and asset. Also in the way that you're sort of bringing people, sort of like hand-holding people from the market who are still not maybe too attached to physical things, right? Not everybody's ready to just jump into the metaverse and forget about our physical goods, right? And so we always thought about the Phygital being a way to introduce that to mass market as well.
Yeah, and just, what is the Phygital? Just maybe people are wondering what it is, right? So what was demonstrated and what it is each owner of a Fiat Lux NFT could claim one of these Phygitals. So they could go on our website and just say, hey, I've got an NFT. I want a Phygital card for this specific NFT. And we printed, 6,000 unique cards. These aren't just like regular paper cards. These are PVC plastic cards. They have a smart chip inside of them. So we needed to actually manufacture all of these. The smart chip is embedded with data about the NFT, and that's connected to a backend that we built that kind of authenticates the NFT owner and the card against the blockchain. And so basically what it does is it says, hey, you get this special card. It's a one-of-one card for your unique NFT. That card, when you scan it, bring it near your phone will detect and read the data on the chip, and it'll authenticate your ownership of that, and it'll unlock our app that we've published. It's accessible across the world on iOS and Android. And through that app, we can deliver all sorts of utility, and we can all deliver customized utility to you for your specific NFT. And in this case, the utility that you showed was utility around being able to view your card. The art on the card is obviously it's 2D and static, but once you view that, our app, you can see it's like a portal into the world of Fiat Lux, and you see your 3D model come to life in that card. Or you could do what you just showed, Minty, which is like you can actually get this face filter and LARP and virtual cosplay your character. And of course, other utility, like we did something really interesting at NFT New York. We can talk about that. But that was also delivered through our app. And so this app becomes the medium for us to deliver all sorts of utility for this project and for this fictional universe, and make the ownership experience really special for people.
Yeah, that was a fun event going to New York. I was there, and
Yes, yes.
you know, you bring your card, and I think that, you know, when I was there, I really got a sense of the understanding of the future of IRL events potentially within the project, as well as just, you know, as interesting think of you had geofenced an experience central to Times Square. We were right in the middle of Times Square. And Christian seemed to have laid out these perfect lines all across Times Square. Like it was really, really a labor of love, I could tell. But then you could geofence the experience to holders. Could you talk quickly about like sort of the idea and the future of IRL events with the cards?
So I'll jump in, and then Christian, I'm sure, and Jan can fill in as well. But the goal there was, you know, from the beginning, we've always had this idea that it's a phygital, you know, we're going to have phygital cards. So there's a physical digital kind of asset that you can own. But we also, this is around a phygital community. It's a community that doesn't just exist in Discord, but it's a community of people that we'd like for them to connect in the real world, make it a truly phygital community. And conceptually, that's easy to talk about. Functionally, it's hard to figure out how to do it. But this, because we've designed all of this project and the different elements of the project the way we did, our goal was, can we create unique experiences where if holders show up in a specific location and through their app get a unique experience that can only be experienced by those people at that location and at that time, because that's really special, right? That's when, as a community of fans, you get to come together, you get to participate in something related to a project that you love, and also meet your other folks. There's something really special about physically meeting all of the other fans in the real world. And
you can catch a Pokemon, I believe, right? I wasn't able to catch any with mine, but,
you could catch a Pokemon. So in New York, yeah. And then so in Times Square, what we did was, you know, what we haven't talked about yet is the story element of the project, but we were going to launch the first chapter of our story the week of NFT New York. And we said, wouldn't it be fun if we held our first community challenge? And it's more of a proof of concept of what this community challenge could look like in advance of that. And wouldn't it be cool if we said, if you're an NFT holder, a Fiat Lux NFT holder, and you show up in Times Square at a specific time, you get to participate in this community challenge. It's an augmented reality experience that you and whoever's only those people that are there get to do. And by participating in that experience, you kind of unlock the story for the rest of the community. So you take an action as a small group in the real world that has consequences for the entire community and the story that is connected to the project. So anyways, that's what we did. So it's specifically in Times Square, we had people showed up, and if you scanned your card in Times Square, our app would detect that you're in Times Square. So if, you know, other owners had scanned their app, you know, elsewhere, they wouldn't even know this capability existed. But if you're in Times Square and you scanned your card, you would get a new button in your app that would allow you to participate in activating a node, a network node that was only located in Times Square. You'd push that button and you'd see in AR the node pop up in front of you. You did some really simple interaction with it just to kind of activate it. That was, you know, again, this is more
well, this is part of the storytelling that, you know, I love in this space, and that's, you know, utilizing, you know, the tools and the capacity that a certain project will have, and leveraging that towards the experience of storytelling. And I think that is a great way to kick off. And I want to share some of the elements, because I think you guys also innovated really well into, you know, here's the great website, into the storytelling initiative called Vault of the Ancients. And so this was your kickoff for Vault of the Ancients. And Vault of the Ancients is continued on after you initialize the story with the activation IRL. It continues on into another aspect of storytelling. And so, here you guys are doing, I think you termed it as a bit of a radio play, but it has these really great visuals. And let me see if I can play a little bit and see if I don't get too rugged.
The winding hallway eventually expands into a hollow chamber. At first glance, it would appear to be a cavern, but further inspection reveals the walls to be lined with the same alloy that adorned the tunnels before it.
And so you have, professional voice actors, you have sound effects, you have music, you have, I think a really full featured ambiance here for the storytelling, which I really commend, and I think is, again, a fantastic use of leveraging, going from one medium to the next in order keep the story going, because you can't do like, an IRL each week, and so to kind of, get to the in-between stuff, developing these stories through ways that are engaging, and very, beautiful and visual. I really like the website redo too. It looks fantastic. But how did you guys get to that point where I think you guys explained it as story cycles, where you figured out like, okay, this is how we want to start building our lore, instead of just Christian vlog or blogging it, every other week or so, in order to again leverage the wonderful tools that we have, especially in this project. And that's what I want to highlight here. You guys are leveraging the specialness of your project to telling the story, and I think that's so fantastic.
I think that was. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Christian.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it was an iterative process of trying to find a way to deliver a meaningful, a good story of quality, while also competing with a space that moves really, really fast, right? At a space that wants more content every day, when next drop, right? And so I think our true experimentation, we were like, how do we have like a consistent schedule of releasing content, and content that we can produce and keep our holders, entertained and engaged with the story, while at the same time exploring different aspects of the Fiat Lux world. So you have like each cycle is like, it's sort of like a story, and it has a setting, and it has important components to it, or aspects that could then, for example, potentially become part of rewards or part of the ownership experience. I don't know, maybe I'm Tom Hollanding myself.
No, please Tom Holland, all you can here, and I'll specifically ask you to do so at the end of the episode. But Jan Erik, in terms of like this storytelling process, does this open up avenues for you, and does your sort of game maker mind sort of click in as like, oh gosh, we could really do something here?
Yeah, I mean, it does, but I think also, I mean, this is a little bit to Christian's point earlier, is sometimes I think people always know that creating like a AAA game or creating an animated show, like maybe somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people have to go off for multiple years, sometimes in games an ungodly number of years, to make a thing. And what's always been shocking to me in making games is it's really only in the last 2 months that the game gets good, typically. It's not pretty leading up to that. Like, so you really have to go off in your corner and be secret for 2 or 3 years and do that thing. And then, you're like, hey, here's my game. I hope you like it. And then maybe you update it and it's like, but that's not what this space is, right? That's not what we're doing. We're not gonna launch the first collection and then be like, we'll see you in 2 years, so it really comes down to a lot of conversations of like, we want to tell the story, how can we do it, and let's take a first step. We have so many inclinations of things we want to do and places we want to take it, but we have to start somewhere, and we have to start somewhere where on a consistent basis we can share it with our community, have them hopefully interact with it, have them sort of participate in ways. But it's tough, right? Because when you do this, you're like, oh my God, we could do that, or we could do these in real life experiences more, or it'd be cool to animate stuff. It'd be really cool to have more modalities, right? Like we had really good experiences with doing ARGs or sort of also games early on, and that feels like it can feed into the storytelling. So there's all these.
Sorry, step back. What was that? ARG?
Yes, ARG is basically to sort of go back historically. At least this is my understanding. I may have it wrong, but the first ARG I ever heard of was actually a marketing campaign for the Halo video game, and it was a way in which a fan could be given clues through like websites or small snippets, and then they went crazy with it. If you solved these puzzles, there were like phone booths where people would get calls would come in, and it was like calls from the future. And we went through this, and I was like, this was almost cooler than the game itself. Like this was amazing. And I think we all love sort of puzzle solving and setting things up. So that was something we did with our community early on, sort of leading up to the launch. And I think if you grapple with content in a code breaking kind of way, like I have to listen to this, I have to see it, or I have to go through it again. What I think we found is,
or I can get the answer from my friends on Discord.
Yeah, that's true. That is also a way, you know, it's kind of like a lot of games where you maybe build content. There's a small group of people that are like, maybe you're 2 to 5% are making content and everyone else is just sort of enjoying the ride. That's cool. Like whatever amount of time that you have or effort that you have to put in, as long as you're enjoying it. And there was some really like phenomenal people in our community that were just like, we were having discussions of like, there's no way anyone's going to figure this out. Like it's too complicated. It's too crazy. And they did, you know, and they worked together. And that was always the thing, like work together. But what was fascinating to me is if you put a clue in a piece of music, the people who have gone through that process, they now have a different relationship to that piece of music than they would have if they just casually listened to it, maybe while they were watching their kids or doing something else and they've forgotten about it. And so that's really interesting to me, in like, oh, I want that. I want people to focus. I want people to have like nostalgia when they go back and they see this scene or they see these models or they hear this piece of music. So that's just to say, that's just one of the many ideas, right? And I think what I wouldn't say struggle with, but something we aspire to is to step and have it be good, and then take more steps and add more things into it, and not, you know, not have it be half-baked. I think everyone in the group is really finds it just should be quality and it should be good. But we have to kind of build our way to a final vision.
Exactly. And as you said, the different modalities really help with that. And so, you know, having, you know, some things that are a bit lo-fi, as well as sort of, you know, the highlights of the IRLs, I think really compound. And I think now we have this burgeoning area where I didn't really think of this, but the idea of like NFT 2040 has an arena, you know, where you could bring sort of your own cowboy in a sense to come and play, bring your NFT to play. You know, these destinations, I really didn't think of that. And then it sort of hit me when I was looking at my on the show, my conspiracy theories between 10KTF as and other side world, and sort of, you know, looking at like, well, they're going to have to bring on more than just apes into the other side. And to sort of, it was a very quiet murmur. It was just like one line in the Discord of Fiat Lux. But I heard that, you know, you guys were participating, you know, in the SDK of other side. And so what is your vision for being part of, you know, Yuga Labs's, you know, land or vision for the metaverse?
So what oh, go ahead, Mark.
So much enthusiasm, I know.
Metaverse.
Well, specifically these metaverses that are
right.
They're now actionable. We can literally take these characters, your Fiat Lux characters, and bring them into you know, certain worlds. And I think it was a Meta Traveler. You know, they were open to the idea. So it's just like everybody's starting to be like, oh, hey, we can bring in other projects to play together in a world that we've created, whether that's, you know, isolated or I guess still Yuga's is very isolated, but something that is, you know, a bit grander in scale.
Yeah, I mean, the metaverse was all, I mean, just again, going back to the design and the intent of the project, it was, we always imagined the metaverse, you know, being a utility for our NFTs. That's why we designed them the way we did. They're very, very low poly and low, small in size. So these are, a lot of these are smaller than a JPEG in terms of file size, because we knew that they needed to be portable. And portable meaning, you know, obviously we're talking about usable in AR, but usable anywhere essentially. So they're GLB files, and we're kind of, you know, we've released a few other formats so people can use them in different ways. But the intent was to say, you know, we're going to create the story, we're going to create this community, and we're going to create this world. And we want people to be able to to take take a part of this world with them across the metaverse and tell the story and expand the story wherever they go, right? So whether it's in OTHERSIDE or, there's a whole bunch of other metaverse projects that we're talking to, we're working with, because, I think that this is the summer of the metaverse. Like all these metaverses, are going to come live. And, I call it the platform wars. Like everyone's going to want the communities to hang out on their metaverse because they need users. So that's good. It allows optionality for owners to say, hey, I can take it here, I can take it there. Where do I get the best experience? And so anyways, we are definitely talking to and working with a lot of different metaverse projects to ensure interoperability and portability of the NFTs that we're creating. And the goal here is like, take Fiat Lux universe, this fictional world, and then take it with you in other places and have it extend, and tell stories in other places where you think that you can. So it's an exciting part of this process.
Because I'm looking at you guys and I feel like, in terms of metaverse ready, I mean, we have the different files, we have these abilities, it seems, to run into the other side and play. Any sort of known technical sort of difficulties or technical, because having the GLB files and I think we have access. I think we can export an FBX. The ability to take it into Blender and kind of play with it and export it into different things. But how easy has that process been because you guys already have these files ready to go?
Well, I mean, I think from the beginning, like Umar said, we've tried to be metaverse agnostic. Like it's not really metaverse if it's just one platform. The whole concept of metaverse is it's everywhere, right? And so what we did for our characters, for example, is like GLB is basically right now the standard for 3D in the web, right? So so that was a decision why we did GLB, for example. Why we did T-pose, because like some different rigs could work in some different places in different ways. So we want for people to be able to do their thing with the model in the most convenient, more uniform way possible. Why are our characters not using any fancy shaders or anything like that? Well, because you don't know what renderer the metaverse or platform where it's going to go is going to be using. So let's use like unlit materials so that it looks like a comic book character everywhere it goes, like it's like almost like hand painted. So all of those decisions sort of like compound and add up. Technical decisions also create, from a creative standpoint, add up to a character that you can virtually, it's going to look cool on your phone, it's going to look cool on PS5, or it's going to look cool in NFT 2040 platform or OTHERSIDE. And at the end of the day, though, I say platform agnostic because people will move, and I think the platforms that are going to win are the platforms that have the content, and we're focused on creating the content that people can enjoy in these platforms. And so we're not like, oh no. Oh, okay.
I don't know if you guys have checked out, like I was watching this live, the first trip, and it was just kind of amazing to see 4,500 people playing the same mission at the same time.
It's move it or lose it over here. God, I'm gonna walk over here and yell at him.
Shadowland, we're over here.
Hey, all of you I'm looking at right now, you're in Shadowlands. The boss has been defeated. Stop trying to jump on the cake of the drunk Coda and let's get out of here. Okay, let's go. Follow me.
But I also liked sort of examining the avatars that they were using, because for me I was just like, oh yeah, our Fiat Lux looks amazing compared to this very basic model, and I feel like that's probably going to be their solution, in my conspiracy theory of onboarding a lot of other PFPs who don't have 3D files. Is just they're going to put them right where the little lights are, just as sort of a face, if you will. Those PFPs are just going to go kind of flat, perhaps, on those sort of things. Whereas if you have your own 3D file like a Fiat Lux, you're going to stand out sort of in the world, and you're going to have, I think, a uniqueness kind of to it. So
I remember early on in the project we were having discussions about how tall a character in the Fiat Lux universe was, right? Because they're quite sort of lanky, they're kind of exaggerated proportions. And so, but it is this idea of like, well, if you take this model and you wear it into a space, like, should you be 7, 8 feet tall? Is that imposing? Is that good? But it's just, it brings up a lot of interesting questions when you think about bringing them into these spaces where ideally that data has to be portable, you know, and be brought in. And I think because the metaverse spaces are so young right now, there is so much focus on the spaces themselves. And I mean, for me, coming from a video game background, you've had for many, many years online spaces where enormous amounts of people are playing games together. But what they wouldn't do, that was sort of the goal, I think, of Metaverse, was moving your identity or your things or whatever it is, your digital personality and content or whatever, with you through the spaces is really what's different. You wouldn't take your stuff from World of Warcraft and bring it into Fortnite. It wouldn't make sense from a business standpoint. You're like, what are you talking about? But in the metaverse, that is the goal. So the way I always have thought of this is the metaverse isn't the spaces, right? It's the conduits between the spaces. And I think in the end, the metaverses really will be something as unsexy as like a really good protocol for how data moves between spaces. And I'm sort of shocked at how little we talk about that. Whereas it's like, we made a Unity playground and everyone hops in.
It's because it's not flashy, exactly.
It's not, protocols aren't sexy, but it is what will make this work.
I mean, a standard is what made NFTs work, right? Is that ERC 2721
Totally.
Standard, right? That's what makes an NFT special, not the fact that it's
right. And once someone's done that work, then the creative comes in, and then people are like, oh my god, I could do cool stuff with this, right? That's what's exciting.
I actually tweeted something a couple of days ago, which got a lot of people like talking. But I was just like, you all just opening Unity, Unreal stock scenes and calling it a metaverse. And there's a tendency in this space to just do that, right? It's like to do something and then claim like, oh my god, this is something completely new, which, to be honest, has been done in the gaming industry for the last 15 years, you know.
It seems like a little bit of low-hanging fruit, right? But when you guys look at you know, something like the Other Side First Trip, what is it that you're struck by when, you know, as from the tech side of what they were able to accomplish with that?
For Other Side specifically?
Yeah, just the scale and like, you know, I don't know if you guys had a chance to kind of, you know, go through that first trip, but it's just like, you know, just 4,500 people there, you know, with proximity voices and, you know, having, you know, the larger characters lead the action and having, you know, quests that, you know, everyone could do all together.
I was really, really pleased to see that they were actively doing something together. You know, what it often is just like, we are in the space and we can hear each other and we can see each other. That gets old really fast. That's, you know, again, this is why we always talk about like, we are the content in the space, not the space itself. And so these spaces need things to do, missions to have, like community goals, like something that brings you back in. And I was really pleased on the other side to see that sort of coda thing and the missions going through. But from a video game background, I would claim that the greatest technical challenge in bringing many, many, many people together at the same time is actually latency. And these guys know I ramble on about latency way too much. But
the sexy stuff again with you.
I know. But if you want to play a game like Fortnite or, you know, other games, often they're kind of like twitchy, right? And you have to shoot a thing or throw a thing. I worked with a studio that made a game called Knockout City, where instead of shooting things, you actually throw physical balls that are in a physics simulation. And that is a latency nightmare. because you have everyone operating in the same space, and you have to react locally. When someone presses the button, they expect something to happen. But then you cannot not have latency, because we have such great distances when you play, right? These are like getting your ping times and all this stuff. But the problem is, how do you react immediately to what someone did, which is push the button and it feels good to fire a shot, and then resolve it among all your other players? So for me, that is actually what I look for when I see these big spaces, is can I have a conversation that isn't stilted or weird because we all have crappy latency? Or can we do things and agree on what actually happened and who did what in what order? And those are the sort of, from a gaming perspective, are the challenges that just can take years to work through. It's deeply, deeply complicated. And
so what's the vision for having a Fiat Lux when you guys applied, to do the SDK? What was the vision for you guys as founders? Bringing the story somehow and developing a land there. What was the idea?
I think in that sense. Go ahead, Omar.
For Otherside, I mean, I don't know if we have a lot of, I'm not sure we're going to go into a lot of details, but just say, more broadly across all metaverses, that's my kind of the way I'd answer this. It's just we're seeing what's capable. I mean, it's really early for us to be here's all the things we're going to do, because these places aren't even aside from a handful, the common ones that we all know of, Sandbox and Decentraland and others that are more kind of NFT metaverses. Because you have to remember one thing when we talk about metaverse, it's just we in Web3, everyone says metaverse, and we're talking about Otherside, and I'm metaverse, if you go outside of the world of Web3, includes Fortnite and Roblox, where there's 200 million people who use it in a month. You know what I mean? You're talking about scales of massive scale. It's and so anyways, for us, it's we're seeing what these other places are building and figuring it out. It's really early for us to be here's all the things we're going to do, because we don't even know how people are going to use these. But eventually, I think, once people start to use these and these capabilities come out, yeah, it would be really cool. What if there was a Fiat Lux mission, Fiat Lux related adventure that people could cross, at this metaverse or in that metaverse. And that was maybe not even authored by us. Maybe some of our community members said, I'm telling the story of this one person in the third ring, and this is the character, and I've created a little shop, my shop over here, and and over here we're gonna have this challenge, and we, that's just what they did. That's just because they're extending the Fiat Lux universe out somewhere else into one of these platforms.
I think that's the hope, right? That's as a creator and giving these tools to other creatives. I feel that would put smiles on your faces, right? To be oh gosh, somebody's doing an Otherside experience, or a Sandbox experience, and with their character, within the sort of the realm of, as you said, third ring and in the world of Fiat Lux. And so, I mean, it seems Fiat Lux is really ready, to party in a sense in the metaverse. You got the beer, from your fake ID that you got. And you're able to
just take it out and see what you can do with it, and
right?
And you're totally right. I mean, there is just no better feeling when we see people in our community doing these things, making little stories, taking it into spaces, and you see a video and they're in VR chat, and hopefully it was not too hard for them to bring the assets in, right? Because that makes it feel like we did our job and we got it right if it goes smoothly, because there's a lot of things you can do that makes it really hard to bring stuff in.
Yeah.
And so how do you kind of get those roadblocks to creativity out of the way so that you can just not be sitting there for days trying to figure out annoying details, but really be thinking of what am I trying to show? What is the story I'm trying to tell? What am I trying to get across? The fun stuff, and really just figure it out, and hopefully everyone have a good time, and we can kind of feed off what we see the community doing.
Well, everybody wants to have a good time. And so I think, looking towards the future, I hope to have you guys back again, because there's always something constantly in motion with this group. And I love this group. And I think that it's clear that you guys have worked together before and now are all passionate about this space and giving tools to creators. And so before we leave, is there anything that you can share with us about the near future that we can look forward to with the project?
I think we're at we're at a very important junction in our project where it's like the culmination of the first cycle of our story called Vault of the Ancients. It's free for everybody to experience, but it's there's a holder experience for you to tell and choose where the story is going. And so right now we're about to open up the first story branch in the narrative where our community will decide where the universe of Fiat Lux is going. Not only from it's not a small decision, it's like really big fundamental decisions that will affect the story in many, many ways, in ways that, normally video games couldn't because they have to create all the content beforehand, for example. And so I'd say that's like the biggest thing right now, right? We'd encourage people to just
wait, are you guys going to kill Ned Stark? What the hell?
It depends. Does the community want to kill Ned Stark?
Exactly.
We just have to grapple with the outcome of Ned Stark being dead.
Yeah. I mean, the decisions are real. I can't emphasize that. Like the decision really affects, like, at a fundamental level where the story is going, which I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen decision making at that magnitude in other games, like for story.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
love
it's exactly what Christian is saying. Like in video games with a branching narrative, you have to make every branch, and it's just limiting because how can you make so much content and if people don't see it, you feel bad. So you come up with ways in which people play the game in cycles or they see every path. But what I think we were really excited about is like the path the community chooses is what is going to be worked on and where we're going to go. And maybe there'll be some multiverse threads being picked back up later. Who knows? That's all craziness. But the idea that we can just focus on that decision and write those and not follow the path not taken is really interesting to me, because it means, just like Christian said, the choices can be really meaningful. And the amount of time we've spent in sort of in a writer's room and talking about stuff and where things are going, it's just like, oh Jesus, okay, we're just really gonna go this way or that way, and it'll be fascinating to see and do that with the community, and I'm excited about it.
Awesome. Umar, have I missed anything other than Ned Stark's slaughter?
What I would say is like the cycles concept is about giving us flexibility to experiment. What are the things we just talked about for this project, right? So just like we have, really high quality 3D avatars that were designed. We built a whole custom pipeline. There's a bunch of tech that we had to invent to create these. We didn't talk about it, but like there was stuff that was did so that we could create these generative 3D models. But so there's the 3D models themselves. There's the story and the art and the creative direction that we're taking with kind of the main story. There's the app and the fidgetals that we built. There's the all of the information in terms of all of the different modalities to access and use your fidgetal. It's that's all that's happened. I mean, we shipped. I'm proud of like this. I know that it took us a little bit longer, but we shipped 6,000 cards to 80 countries in the world. So the point I'm trying to say is that's a lot of work. Like if you look at any project, you said, wow, these in 6 months, 7 months.
I tried to ship 20 T-shirts just to like some Discord friends all over the world, and that was A, fortune, and B, like just filling out all of the customs forms.
The customs forms.
Don't talk to Umar about international shipping, man.
But yeah, I mean, so we did all of that in like 7 months. But it's a tiny team. We're less than 10 people, really. Like, and not in full time. It's even less than that. So the point I'm trying to make is we want to tell this story and build this project using the resources that we have. And of course, we add people when we need them. And the cycles was our way to say, within a certain time box, is our sandbox of experimentation. The next cycle may not look anything like this cycle. We will still tell the story, but how we do it may look very different. And we're kind of, so that keeps a couple of things. One, it gives us flexibility to play around and experiment and do fun stuff. It keeps the community excited because you don't know what's around the bend and what's going to happen. Hopefully with our history, our community has seen that we can deliver some really cool stuff. And so like, we have flexibility in what we can deliver, and we have the skill set to do it. So it's, part of that next cycle is to just, we're designing it, we're kind of working on it. The story, all of it intertwines. How we tell the story, what is in the story, it's dependent on the modality and the experience that we're going to design. So I can't reveal much, but the point of why we created these cycles was, instead of coming out and saying, here's a roadmap and like all this random stuff that we're going to do, and then it's just like, we're going to do one cycle. What did we learn? What did the community learn? What worked? What didn't? And then do something else that's interesting, and maybe continue what worked, maybe change what didn't, maybe experiment on something new.
Well, thank you for that warning of physical delivery for all our creators here on the channel who are thinking about sending things, especially one-of-ones all over the world. Really, really a Herculean effort. And again, I think it's just a nod to your guys' passion and in terms of delivering for your community, as well as the creativity involved. It takes a lot of hard work to execute that stuff. And you guys are working on the bleeding edge. And I see it here in you three guys. And I just want to thank you guys for your time, because I think you guys really exemplify sort of, the what I see about this project. And from my very first look at that, at that avatar, and I'm spinning it around, you can see the creativity, the effort, all the text, all this stuff that went into making that. It's unique. And I think you can really tell when you really start to look at this project. And I'll put some links down below so that everyone can take a look as well, fiatlux.com, as well as on Twitter at Fiat Lux. And of course, you guys can find those links to Discord on those two locations. So Umar, Christian, Jan Eric, thank you again for joining us here on Crypto Media Friends.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us. Thanks for being part of our community. You contribute as well. I mean, we could sing your praises. I mean, you've been such an active and important part of our community.
I think you should sing my praises.
Here
would be a good time.
Non-stop.
No, we really appreciate it. And that's what keeps us going, is when we get to interact with amazing, talented people who are also seeing and want to contribute and want to be part of it. This is kind of, we're a small team working with a big community, and, hopefully we can all do something, I think, not first of its kind in the world, right? Like launch this metaverse native franchise and universe in a world where, the only other companies doing this are Disney, and Marvel, and that's also Disney. So
soon, that's the alpha. Soon you will be Disney as well. Awesome, guys. Thank you.